Okay, hi everyone. How are you doing? I'm here to talk about some silly little tiffs that are going on the internet and then also explain how small businesses operate to a certain extent and how pricing works too. Of course, as per usual, I am taking something that is technically just a gossip situation, a tiff, and make it into a lecture. As you have probably heard already, there have been a few situations recently where influencers got into hot water because of the pricing of the products that they produce. I think that there's some information that's already out there in the sense of people knowing that materials are not all made equal. Some materials are better than others. For example, some cotton is better than other types of cotton, etc., right? So the two scandals that we're going to be talking about today are this pottery business and an influencer having a little bit of a problem with each other. And the second one is Emily Marino and her tote bag. Let me introduce you to the problem at hand. There is two Australian influencers. One of them is Sophia and another one is Shelby. You know, it doesn't really matter what their names are. I'm just gonna tell you one of them I'm gonna call an influencer and the other one I'm gonna call the pottery girl or whatever the hell. So the influencer posted a haul after going to a farmer's market or something along those lines where she picked up a cup, a mug of sorts from the pottery girl business. Let me just show you what the influencer girl said.
Basically, I was at this market, the Finders Keepers market. How can you use this cup, right? I think it's actually like a kid sippy cup, which is silly because it's ceramic, so if they drop it, it'll smash. But I didn't see that. I thought it just had one handle. I was like, oh, that's such a cute mug. Like, I'm just gonna get it. Like, I was like, whatever, like, I'll just get it. Didn't ask how much it was. Oh no, she's like, it's all good, you can tap. Fucking look at the F-Boss machine, $125. Look how small this mug is. Like, it's literally tiny. That's like a proper mug size. I was like, she like fully wrapped it and put it in a bag and like I was about to tap. So I was like, there's no way I can be like, no. I could have, but I would have felt really bad. So I just got it, but now I'm like, fuck, do I give this to? I'm not gonna give this to actually one of my cousins that's small because they'll just break it. It's so breakable and ceramic, you know? So I don't know who the fuck that's for, but we'll figure it out.
So I guess the harshest thing she said is maybe, I don't know who the fuck that's for, right? That's what I would say is the harshest thing out of all of the things that she said. And she honestly, she hasn't said anything outrageous. And what caused a lot of, discourse online, especially on TikTok, was actually the response that we got from the pottery girl. Today's video is sponsored by Aura. Aura is a digital security service provider that offers multiple tools in one app. Things like antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft, insurance, and more. All of these tools in one allows for better affordable pricing and general convenience. I'm very cautious about my information online in general because I do make content online, but my information still sometimes gets out there and is sold by data brokers to scammers, spammers, and the like. I get a crazy amount of spam messages, emails, calls, so I had to find a solution for it. That's where Aura comes in. Cleaning up my information helps me reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who can use this information to get access to my social media accounts, other sensitive information. To try Aura yourself, you can go to aura.com/Lisa Fevral to start your 2-week free trial. It's also going to be linked in the description below. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. So she deleted this video, but obviously it's out there. Everyone has seen it. This is the video in question.
Mug, like I'm just gonna get it. Like I was like, whatever, like I'll just get it.
So I just saw this video. And that's my mug. That was only a short little clip of the whole minute that she talks about how I spoke to her as a business at the market. I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting my small business. It means so much. Every single time someone purchases a piece that I make, I have literally spent hours and hours finessing, glazing. I hand paint every single one, and that's not including how much money goes towards tax.
Okay, so I'm going to comment on pieces of this video as we go along because there's a lot to say. First and foremost, I don't know if this is going to be harsh or not, so I'm sorry ahead of time, but I do not love the tone of voice immediately. I guess it's okay to respond to anything when it comes to people criticizing your business, whatever the fuck, but at the same time, the tone, girl, why are you crying? Like, she's not crying, but the whiny tone is really, really something. Right away, there's like this whole thing of her kind of insinuating that there's like a whole minute of this girl, this influencer, tarnishing her name, I would say. And I just don't think that that's true based on the video that I've seen. I don't think that that's a video that could tarnish anyone's reputation. It can let people know that she was shocked by the price of it, sure. But that's about it, you know? It's really not something you should be responding to in general. I feel like it's just such a small issue that if you saw it and you felt uncomfortable, maybe send her an email, try to do something along those lines. Girl, I would probably not say anything because it's like, okay, well, we kind of had like a misunderstanding. You decided to buy a mug and then you felt awkward saying no when you realize how much it is. That's on you. We all kind of understand that. When we go to a store and we did not realize something's going to be that expensive and we buy it, we know that we either have to return it or we just have to kind of forget about it. Like, yeah, I bought this thing because I was feeling awkward in the moment. Like, we do that. All of us do that from time to time. Listen, she pours those cups. They're not shaped by hand. They are made with a mold. I know that a lot of people are not familiar with ceramics or with pottery in general. To those of you who think that there's like such a massive difference between the two, let me actually give you the definition. So pottery is a type of ceramic. Specifically, it's usually something like a mug. It's kind of like an art piece, right? Ceramics is just like a really big umbrella term that covers things that are made out of materials that are not metal, but still can be manipulated if it is treated with high temperatures. When people are trying to say that there's such a big difference between like ceramics and pottery and whatever, pottery is just falling under the ceramics. It's not different. It's just a more of a specific term for something within ceramic. Like all of these conversations about how it's made, what it's made out of, who's making it, where, all of those conversations came up because of the price of this cup. As you could see, that cup is really small. It is poured with a mold. As far as I understand, these molds were not made by this artist, by this pottery girl, because she's shown before where she found them, she upcycled them, stuff like that, which is great in the sense of like not wasting plastic, not wasting any other material, reducing the waste. At the same time, this is a pouring method where you have to pour and then wait and then pour and then wait. It's not like a one pour situation. Still, yeah, it's a little bit up there in terms of pricing. She's saying that she does everything by hand, that she hand paints them. She even has employees. What I don't understand about this whole situation is why she is acting like such a victim, I guess. It's really strange to see people who are so obsessed with capitalistic structure, while at the same time I notice that people who are like this are usually the ones who constantly try to co-opt different types of language and groups of people to try and justify their either pricing or why they deserve your sympathy even though they are a business. If this would have been such an egregious thing to say and it would have been bad for her business, I think that the only way you could get any type of sympathy for that is if you are such a small business, it's just like you, and your livelihood depends on that business. And I don't mean the fact that you would have to be living in a smaller house or something like that if something goes wrong, but that you would be homeless or something like that. If your livelihood gets that affected by your business, I would understand this type of response. But I went to that girl's page, I have done my research. The girlie is not poor, okay? There's no reason for her to be doing all this, crocodile tears situation. I don't understand what the issue is in that sense.
How much goes towards GST, how much outgoings I have, all my supplies that have also increased in value. It also includes my staff's wages. It's also deeply upsetting to have someone not only question you as a business owner and lie about how I interacted with you, but to also have you...
Okay, so now she's talking about GST. I know about this stuff because of running a business, but GST, PST, I don't know if they have PST or whatever the hell they call it, because I'm speaking from a Canadian experience. We have GST and PST, which is, the overall federal tax and also a provincial tax. The fact of the matter is, when you arrive at a certain amount of money that you've made from your business within usually tax year, if you make a certain amount of money off of your business selling your product, I believe that it's usually from 5 to 10K. It depends again on the location and whatever. You start to pay for GST, PST, whatever but those things are added on top of your product price. I understand what she's saying, that that's why it might be more expensive, but I'm sure that it cannot be more than 15%. Even if you want to count it, it would not be more than about $5 to $7 on a mug like that, okay? If she's that small of a business that she needs to pay the tax out of her own pocket because they haven't sold enough to be given a federal tax number, right? Then in that case, she could show it in her personal tax filings. It just doesn't make a lot of sense that she's bringing this up as like a reason as to why something is expensive. Now, when it comes to materials, yes, materials are expensive, but the reason why people are complaining about these prices is because they see other small pottery businesses, they have cheaper pricing, right? That doesn't mean that you need to change your pricing. That doesn't mean that you need to do anything about it, really. If this is what you want to do, if you want to sell it for this amount of money, you just have to kind of keep it there and suck it up and realize that you're going to have a smaller selection of people who would be able to purchase it, or you have to raise the quality of your product so it does feel like an investment for people or a thing that actually is worth the amount of money that you're charging for it. This is the funny part about all of this, is that usually it is people who are not actually the only ones responsible. There's like some people I know who have businesses and they are the ones who are responsible for everything, and they're the ones who are investing into everything, and obviously they don't have a lot of money to invest, so for them it's very, very difficult to even start a business. Starting a business is a pretty penny unless you're doing something completely homemade that doesn't even require materials, which is basically impossible. And this pottery girl also has 2 million followers on TikTok, so she has a huge platform, and does not quite make any sense to be speaking like as if someone has done something so terrible to you, that it's such a tragic situation. It's just absolutely bonkers, honestly.
You came to the Finders Keepers market, and do you know what? We were all so excited. Even the market organizers were so excited that you came to the market, and you were potentially going to shout out this wonderful event that supports small, local, creative businesses.
God, something about this girl. Maybe it's just again, cultural difference or something. Like, I really do not like the tone that a lot of not to be like this, but a lot of upper middle class people in the West have. That tone really grinds my gears, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to say that this is 100% what this girl is like. Don't take my word and like run with it, okay? This is just more of like me disliking the tone, that's it. Not to dog on her too much. It's really interesting that she found it so important to talk about like really minute situations. It's really not that important. The whole conversation is really not that important. It seems really strange that she even decided to respond. It does not make her look good at all. I also wanted to mention that for a lot of people who are going to be in the comments, and I know that I have a lot of viewers from America, I know that you guys are going to think that it's in American dollars. It's not. It's in Australian dollars. That's very different, and it is a lot less in USD. However, it's still expensive.
That mug is really special because it may look like just a sippy cup to you, but it actually falls under the dignity mug category, where it has a double handle to help people that have different needs and different disabilities that require to handle mugs to handle their cup. Anyway, thank you for supporting my business regardless, and thank you to anyone that's bought one of my pieces. It means the world to me.
This is the reason why I talked about how a lot of businesses like to use the language and co-op different types of groups, usually marketing bullshit, you know. For example, with this cup, she's saying that this is, I think, Dignity or whatever collection, where it is for people with different types of disabilities or needs, which is great. While at the same time, I do not understand why make ceramic mugs for people who need assistance with, you know, holding the cup. When I was going through chemo, I could not use my like hands very well, and like I would say that making a cup out of something else that's not going to break easily would be probably the way to go. I do find that to be a strange choice. Regardless, this could have been handled in private. Now, let's talk about the second situation and then we'll go into pricing and why the hell everything costs whatever it costs, Emily Marino is this girl, I don't know, she's got 12 something million followers. Based on her accent and whatever, I think that she is American, so she gets paid a fuck ton, okay? This is important to know because her content is very low effort, so she can churn out a lot of videos, she can get a lot of views, and evidently she does, which means that she makes a pretty penny off of her TikTok account. This is important to mention because the girls that I was talking about before were from Australia. They do not have the creators fund, so they do not make a lot of money off of their just sheer views and engagement, right? Emily Marino does. This is the tote in question. And it is $120. This time, those $120 are in USD. That's absolutely outrageous, honestly. And it's kind of funny. It's honestly funny. Of course, once again, you made it this way, you set the price, deal with it, right? Like if people do not like that, they will not keep on buying it, right? You're going to be paying with your future business. However, it is incredibly funny to witness, especially because the thickness of the material of the cotton that she's using is not good enough at all to be that expensive. It obviously would be normal for it to not cost the same as a similar bag on any of the websites like Amazon or whatever. However, it is quite funny that she did not design it well. And by design it, I don't mean that she needed to come up with a crazy design that looks so different than other tote bags. It's a fucking tote bag. Of course, she's not gonna do much to it, especially since based on her content and what she looks like, how she talks and everything, it's not like she can really offer much in terms of, uniqueness. And that's okay. Like, that's just her brand. However, turns out that she is from a design family. Like her dad, her mom, both of them are designers, not apparel designers, but architectural type of bullshit. And it's interesting that with all that influence in her life, clearly she probably asked them for some advice. It's incredibly funny to see somebody who comes from a family where you don't even have to go outside of your home to learn a thing or two about functionality. And I'm not saying that her design needed to even look a certain way. However, it should have been a lot more functional. You have two people in your family. You've been raised by them. You've been raised with a pretty penny in your pocket and you're making a fuck ton of money on TikTok. There's no excuse for you to not know simple things like this because you could have paid for a consultation if your parents are for some reason not the type of parents who fucking talk to their children or something. Like even if you don't have connection with them and you can't ask them questions about this, you can still pay for a consultation to create a bag that has at least a couple of things in terms of functionality that puts it in a higher pay grade category. Your name is definitely not going to be enough because yeah, you have 12 million followers on TikTok, but nobody fucking knows you in the street. No one knows you just in terms of general population. And even if you would have wanted to just write on your name, which is just a thing that people do, you have to expect to be ridiculed from time to time. This approach where designers in quotations or grifters, influencers think that they can make a product that does not offer anything, let alone anything new. It offers less than something that you get for free with just like a regular purchase at fucking Glossier or some shit. Those influencers are exactly the same type of people as people who find out that you could be considered an artist, a contemporary artist, a conceptual artist if you just go into the arts and do very, very low effort things and then try really hard to explain what your piece is commenting on in quotations. There's some works that are technically low effort, but they really aren't. It's a very difficult conversation to be having here out of nowhere. Go to my podcast where I talk about art if you want to, talk specifics. But it's kind of like them making low effort art rely entirely on the marketing of those pieces, on marketing of you as an artist, business, a product, and then expect people to see them as legit artists. It's the same thing with designers who simply put their names on things instead of designing things, then them being angry that they're not being taken seriously by their peers in quotations. I wouldn't even put them in that group because come on now. The point being, they're all allowed to do these things. This is not something that they can't do, but we're also allowed to find it stupid or funny. Let's talk about pricing specifically. So of course there's so many things that go into it. There's the cost of labor, there's the cost for a design, there's a cost for the materials, the production costs. Oftentimes you have to produce samples, and samples plus production of the patterns if you're making clothes or textile products, molds if you're making jewelry or ceramics or whatever the hell. There's costs for import export if you are importing something. There are costs for minimum order quantity. This is the reason why a lot of small businesses are going to have higher prices even if they really try, even if they have the same margins percentage wise as big businesses. For example, a small business and Walmart, if we compare the two, Walmart would be able to buy 1,000 units, no questions asked. They would be able to buy 10,000, 100,000 units, which would immediately make the product, individual products, a lot cheaper. It's kind of the same thing as if you go and buy in bulk at Costco to compare to buying those things individually one by one at a store. It would be less money. So if you buy it in bulk, you can get like a higher margin, for example. So you would be able to afford to have operations, conveniences of proper logistics, right? Like having people who are packing things or whatever and everyone getting paid because you have enough money to pay everybody. To compare to when you're a small business, all of those costs would be on top of that cost because you do not have the same difference. Let's say a shirt costs $5 to make when your order quantity is under 1,000. Let's say that it is only $1 when you buy 10,000. Yes, you would have to pay $10,000 to compare to $5,000, but you have so little units that you would have to sell the shirt for at least $5 just to make your money back without costs of the handling, packing, your costs, like your design, whatever on top of it, to compare to somebody who bought those same shirts but 10,000 of them for $1. They can afford to sell it for $1 to be just at zero. So of course small businesses are going to have to charge they're always going to have to charge more. It is the same thing when it comes to labor costs. Labor costs different amounts in different countries, in different factories especially, because this is a myth that I need to remind people about all the fucking time, because this is what I ran into when I was trying to find a manufacturer who treats their workers fairly and pays fairly and is constantly audited and watched over. I realized that a lot of manufacturers in the West, because they have the convenience of saying it's made in California or it's made in New York or it's made in, I don't know, fucking Paris, because people usually immediately think that it is fair wages and fair treatment and other things like that, they do not actually watch those places, those manufacturers, as closely as they do with other manufacturers in other countries. Obviously, there's problems everywhere. It's not like it's gonna be like every single manufacturer that's outside of the West is checked all the time. No, of course fucking not. But it is basically dependent on specific manufacturers rather than countries. Because for example, with the US, I found a manufacturer and I was talking to them and I realized that they just low-key, there's a lot of labor laws violations going on. However, in their state, they're kind of trying to roll back those regulations too.
That's grotesque.
Like hiring kids who are like 13 years old or something like that to work in those factories. You think I'm joking? I'm not. It's really sad. There's a lot of sweatshops in America that we don't know about because we think that they just don't exist here, so we don't look into it. We have to be vigilant and more vigilant because this type of attitude of profit is never going to lead to anything good, and it's clearly not doing anybody any good. Labor costs are very different everywhere, but something that's made in a small atelier or in a small pottery studio, of course, is going to be more expensive once again. Regardless of all of that, these businesses need to understand that you cannot eat your cake and have it too. For example, with Emily Marino, the fact that she is making it so expensive while at the same time she's not even offering functionality, which if she's going for something very sleek and basic and like Swedish core because of her parents' influence, she thinks that minimalism is the way to go, whatever. If that's their vibes, her vibe, she should have been thinking about functionality, because if you're going to sacrifice personal touch, artistic qualities, the aesthetics overall of a piece. And if you're going to be leaning into minimalism, which is all about using space or using things in the most efficient way, you're not going to arrive anywhere. It's basically just a very stupid product because she's not really offering innovative design in terms of aesthetics, and she's not offering anything new in terms of functionality. So it's absolutely fucking useless. And anyone who bought it for $120, you guys are clowns. And you need to get taste, honestly. I don't even know how to fix you. It's something that I would find embarrassing to be selling things this way. And obviously, of course, it's going to be more expensive. But $120 USD, you know, if she would have been at least ahead of the curve in terms of maybe trends, right? Like if she was kind of Scandinavian shit, but before the whole Scandinavian wave happened in the past 2 years or so, like the re-happening of it, I would be like, okay, well, at least I guess she's charging for being ahead of the curve. But here it's like, anyway, of course, there are so many costs. I feel like with just one video, even if I do a fucking lecture, it's gonna be difficult to fit it all into one video. The amount of things that you have to consider when it comes to a small business, how much everything costs, and how most things are not profitable unless it's scaled up a lot, and you kind of cutting the costs based on amounts, based on minimum quantity, orders, and other shit like that. That's mostly why, for example, you cannot expect a small business to have a wide variety of sizing, because every single size is a separate minimum order quantity. So if a business, if a manufacturer tells you that 1,000 shirts is the minimum you need to purchase for them to produce your design, that means that you would have to buy it in every single size separately. So it would be, if you want small, medium, large, you would have to buy 3,000 shirts, which is insane. However, at the same time, with Emily Marino, she did not create a new design where she would have to even pay for a minimum order quantity. This is the problem that I think is like kind of slipping through the cracks, that her design is so basic. She just added her name, which is usually at no cost to the person who's purchasing from the manufacturer, because they already have this design. They already have those bags produced. Usually they have them in multiple colors you can choose from. This is the cheapest option. It is so crazy that she even went with that, with this type of launch, when she's making so much money off of TikTok. It's like, how lazy and greedy can you be to be like, I have the money to do this well. How can I do it like the biggest okay. I don't want to be, well, actually, do I want to be mean? I don't know. I just find it kind of annoying when people are that lazy. You can ask me any questions you'd like about small businesses, in the sense of like why something costs this much, or specifics about how things function in general. And I'm just gonna maybe answer in shorts, you know, like to your comments, because I think that that's allowed on YouTube now. So if you want to ask questions about the specifics of business that I did not touch on in this video that relates to these situations, to pricing and influencers and other shit like that, you can ask me and I will respond. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you soon with another one. Bye.
Bye.